Live on Zoom.
All right, great. Hey, good morning, Mortgage Coach community. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. My name's Josh Mettle. I am filling in for the always awesome Dave Savage, who's out being Dad of the Year right now and asked us to come in and do a little mastermind with you all. So today, I have three of my best friends and guys I look up to in the industry. We're going to talk about frantic to focused. 3 steps to regain your control in today's frantic market. I'm joined today by Ryan Grant, Danny Harani, and Mark Robertson. Hopefully Danny will be in here soon. But here's the deal. You know, I've invited these guys on to Mastermind with us because these are guys who not only are prolific producers, but they're great men. They're people that I look up to and mentor, and I go to when I seek wise counsel. These are the guys. So today we're going to jump into what's going on in our world. We're going to be a little more vulnerable than usual. We're going to talk about the challenges that we're having in our mortgage practices. And then we're going to hopefully give you some solutions and maybe some perspective you didn't think about. I know I've got my notebook here, so I plan on taking lots of notes and learning from these guys, and we hope you have a great time with us. One quick housekeeping item. Dave Savage just published an article this morning on LinkedIn, and it's basically the 5 action items that he got from an interview that he did a week or so ago with Amber Kovarik, and I hope I'm saying her name right. She's an incredibly gifted originator, and if you haven't checked out the YouTube channel for Mortgage Coach and listened to her YouTube interview, you should do that. But you can also check out the LinkedIn article that Dave Savage just wrote. And I think that Robert's going to put that into the comments so everybody can see that article. It's definitely a winner. All right, hey team, to frame up today's conversation, what I plan to do is just quickly share my screen. Hi, Danny. I'm glad you made it, my friend.
What's up, dudes? Good to see you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Sorry, I had to go back to 1980 to get my headset.
Mission accomplished, sir. Very well done. Very well done. Hey, listen, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, great.
We got it.
So two slides here, and this is just going to frame up today's conversation and give you some context. This is one of my favorite quotes by Jim Rohn. Success is not something you pursue. What you pursue will elude you. It can be like trying to chase butterflies. Success is something you attract by the person you become. And just to give that some context, we're all in one of the most amazing, blessed real estate and mortgage markets of our lives. I've never seen a refinance market this strong, right on top of a purchase market this strong. And it's an unbelievable opportunity. The question is, are we chasing success, or are we using these challenges? Are we using this as an opportunity to focus on and to become the person that we want to become a better person? And so to that end, it made me think of this Japanese saying, Kaizen. And it literally means change good. And so Kaizen is the concept of continuous improvement. And as we were preparing for this call, we were all abundantly aware that we have not made it. None of us think that this is it. We've hit the pinnacle. Now we can just sit back and smoke stogies and kick up our heels. We're looking at our business models, and this volume, it shows our strengths. It also shows our flaws. And I believe this is one of the greatest opportunities of all time to take a really good look at ourselves and say, what can we improve? Where are the areas in our business? Where are the areas in our lives? Where have we let this tsunami of business take us out of our rituals, our routines, our prayers, our meditations, our workout habits, our time with our family members, and how do we resharpen and refocus and make sure this experience sharpens us? So with that, Danny, I'm going to turn it over to you to get started for a moment, if you would, because you had a great experience that you shared with us that I hope you'd share with folks. And then we're just going to kind of organically kick into a mastermind, and we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, and team, everybody watching, you know, our goal today is to make sure that you walk away from this with at least one tactical thing that you can integrate into your business right? We want this to be, a lot of this is going to be about framing, about mindset. However, we also know that you're taking time out of a very busy schedule to either be present with us today or to watch this recording. So we're going to be really focused on adding value and giving you something that you can actually use. But we're going to start off by a story that really kind of came into my mind as we were talking through this idea of frantic to focused. And I have a 7-year-old daughter, and this was prior to all of the kind of craziness that we're in right now, when you were able to go to little kids' birthday parties. I went to a birthday party for one of her friends, and it was at this, arcade miniature golf place, and they had this thing that was called the Ticket Tornado. And the way the Ticket Tornado works, and you guys might have seen this, guys and gals might have seen this before, the kid gets in this machine and tickets just start flying around. And the kids have to grab the tickets out of the air, and they try to get as many as they can in the time, and then they come out and they have the tickets. And I was watching a bunch of kids go into this machine and get frustrated. They never got as many tickets as they thought they were going to. And then these two girls went in, and one of them just held out her shirt a little bit to make a bucket, and then another girl just stuffed tickets, into the shirt. And as I was kind of thinking about this story, or we were talking about the mortgage market right now, this image of the Ticket Tornado came into my head, because that's really what I feel like's happening right now, right? The deals and the money is just flying around. The customers are just flying around us, and we're frantically trying to grab as many as we can and get them in. And two takeaways that from the framing perspective that I want to kind of start this off with, we want to start this off with, is the machine is designed so you cannot catch all the tickets. It's actually built that way. You cannot catch all the tickets. The second piece is that Josh, this is one of my favorite things, that you've said on these calls, is strategy wins over everything else. So these two girls came into the Ticket Tornado, and they had a plan, right? They weren't frantically grabbing tickets and then walking out frustrated with fewer than they could have had. They went in with a strategy of how they were going to win the Ticket Tornado, and they got more tickets than any of the other kids. So just to kind of, hopefully that frames this up. And one of the things that we want to talk about a lot today, I think, is expectation setting, both expectations externally, right, as to how you're kind of position your business to win from an expectation standpoint, and then the expectations that you set in the inner game. So does that frame this up, Josh, and kind of recapture some of the stuff that we're talking about?
I like it. And what it made me think about was, and I invite you guys to jump in where you'd like, but life is designed for you not to win. I mean, think of all the mousetraps out there: news channels, alcohol, drugs. There's a billion things out there to get you sugar, fried foods at every corner alongside of liquor stores. I mean, the world is designed to entice you into a mousetrap that hinders your long-term growth and success. And as is that ticket booth that you described. So the point is, how do we zoom out, especially in times like this, that are maybe the most frantic times of ever? And how do we zoom out? How do we get perspective and go, okay, that's the next best step. That's the next best step. And sooner or later, we design a strategy, and strategy trumps all. Yes, thank you. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I think that, the thing that everyone's focused on right now are the losses, right? They're focused on, the fact that they didn't get that refinance. It maybe went somewhere else because they couldn't get to it. They can't catch all the tickets that they're trying to catch, right? So as opposed to looking at all the tickets they did get, they look at all the ones that are left on the ground, right? And so I think right now, every mortgage professional needs to really understand, what do you want the outcome of this business cycle to be, right? Like, what do you want your business to look like in the next 12 to 18 to 24 months? And what can you do now that will help accomplish that? Because if you just grin and bear it for the next 18 to 24 months until this ride ends, you're going to end up in a place that you're probably not happy with when the market shifts. And that's something that, I think we should all chat about today on the call, is what can we use this business cycle to improve on?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point, Ryan. I think it's really hard, if I'm being honest. When when I'm going through my day to day and I'm hitting those booby traps and the hurdles and I can only be reactionary just because there's so many things coming in, it is impossible to get the perspective that Josh is talking about and to come up with a strategy. There's just no time because of all of the inbound pressure and just completely reactionary in every single step. But it's so imperative, to your point, Ryan, to really think about this opportunity, keeping your mindset in the right spot about it being just an opportunity of a lifetime. And how do you execute a strategy so that you do come out of this feeling like you're a better person, like you're a better businessman, like you've served your families better, that you've served your team better. And so I'd really love to get perspective from you guys. I'm in a remote office right now because I've just enjoyed some time off, which was a beautiful gift that my team gave to me and we gave to each other. And it has allowed me to get such a great perspective and so much gratitude that, quite frankly, it was impossible for me to get when I was in it, when I was in the weeds, when I was in all of this, this constant barrage of leads coming in and, losing an employee or whatever the booby traps are. And I think it's really important, at least from my point of view, to impress upon everybody that's out there listening the value of really just taking time at a time when there is no time. And I think a lot of us can carry around a lot of guilt, and it could ruin the internal game. But it's really important. You guys identify with the guilt of not just being working around the clock every single day.
Mark, I love that, taking time at a time when there is no time. And back to Ryan's point, I think maybe the first thing we can throw out and mastermind around is this idea of what's the desired end result of this boom we're going through. In other words, are we just going into this thing with the intentionality to make as much money as possible at all costs, right? At all costs, just to win, just to see the name at the top of the sheet and to make as much money as possible? Or what guidance have you guys given your teams? And what are you thinking about when you look at this cycle, whatever it is, another 6, 12, 24 months? What's the desired end result that you want to come out on the other side of that? So if we can kick off there, maybe Danny, would you maybe want to give us some leadership around that topic?
Yeah, so I think my answer to that question, Josh, is that I believe that it's possible to have both things. So, my short answer would be, and this is something that I've been working on actively, as you guys know, as we've kind of all been on, a journey together in terms of coaching and getting mentored and getting perspective for a long time, long time, that, being able to dial back and not be in the 5th or 6th gear 100% of the time, it's a hard thing for me to try to figure out how to do. That's not kind of how I was naturally built, right? I'm built, I kind of tend to go all out and then leave a wake of destruction behind me, right? Like, come home, with my, cold dinner waiting on the counter with a grumpy wife because I said I would be home, 45 minutes earlier. And, somehow I can organize my day to, lead a team and, have a bunch of stuff going on, but I can't organize my day to be home on time, right? So that piece of it, I know has in the past been really, really difficult for me. But I think that one takeaway that I want for the viewers and audience to have is that you don't actually have to compromise your spot on the leaderboard, or your income when you make choices to actually choose into your own life, right? And choose into having abundance. And actually, in fact, I think all three of you and many others that are watching this that are part of the Mortgage Coach community who have kind of been able to grow up with the mentorship of Dave and others that kind of are a part of this community over time, have really kind of seen glimpses of that path, right? If they're not walking it, they know that it's possible. And so when I say it's possible to have both things, one of the main tactical pieces of the puzzle that I hope that we're able to get to today in the time that we have is really focusing on taking this opportunity to build your team, right? If you haven't already started that process, if you've been overwhelmed by fear, uncertainty, doubt, about the prospects of being able to support other individuals. And I know, early on, I had a tremendous amount of fear, right? Like, I don't have plants, or, I don't want to take care of other things because I know that my bandwidth is super limited and be responsible for other people's livelihoods. But that's what we do as leaders when we take on people to our team. But I think that one thing I would love to get perspective from you guys on is, because I know, Ryan, you've been on an absolute hiring spree recently, is what you've done to kind of quell that fear. I'm assuming you have it similar to the way I did, around, sustaining your business at a level that's going to support all those people. And, what are the strategies to actually kind of make that happen? Because that's, when I think about abundance, I think about leverage, right? For me, it's all a math equation, right? There's only so much time in the day. So if I'm going to invest my time, 1 unit, and I have built levers around me and infrastructure around me where that unit of time multiplies itself through leadership and through structure, that allows me to continue to grow and build and get to the leaderboard, get the income that I'm looking for, while still carving out time, so that I don't have, cold dinners and a grumpy wife.
Yeah, those two things are important. To your point about the team, yeah, we've hired a lot of people. We hired 13 people in the last 30 days, underwriters, closers, processors, operations, production partners. And we really look at it as, I know you like the book too, Danny. One of my favorite books is The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. And he talks about, a lot of people are playing the finite game, which is this game that has an end, right? And a lot of people are in the mortgage business playing the game like it has an end date. And when I get here, it'll end, or when I do this, it doesn't, and it shouldn't, right? And so right now is an opportunity to really invest in growing your team, right? In elevating people within your team, right? In creating new leadership within your team, right? So you're not the alpha and the omega, right? You run it, and then other new leaders arise, and then new people kind of filter under them, because now gives us the opportunity to do that. And we can be, we can be choosy. Now, whether or not we do is another point, right? Like you have to be slow in hiring. You have to be diligent. You can't just hire a body. And what that'll do long-term is it will help you when, this roller coaster slows down or comes to a very close stop, because you'll have a phenomenal group of people. The only difference is if you just hire those people and continue to do the same things you're doing today, there's no way you can sustain that, right? In the time when it becomes this quasi dark winter, when rates move up and things really slow down. So as you hire new people and as you build this infrastructure, you have to reinvent what your job is, right? And your job is to build an infrastructure and a team that will not only survive that challenging time that's coming, but really thrive through it, right? And that's a whole nother topic for another day. But I think, one of everyone's goals should be to create a better team with more levers, that gives more leverage, that allows you to go do more things right now. And if you're just cranking through loans, working 14 to 16 hours a day, thinking that all that hard work is going to pay off, it will leave you with more money, but it won't leave you with more leverage, more time, more capability when the time comes when you really need that.
Danny, something
really well said, Ryan.
Go ahead, Mark.
Just really well said. I love it, man. It's really well articulated, and I admire what you're doing, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Danny, to your point, possible to have both. I totally agree with you. When I look back at my path and my career, the vast majority of that career was chasing the success metric, whatever that was, money, savings, name at the top of the list, right? And I believe you can have both, but it takes, at least for me, it took a shift in prioritization. And I actually had to focus more on the routines, the rituals, and maybe that's the second thing we should jump into. But I had to focus on taking care of myself and continuing to develop myself and continuing to turn into the person that would attract success. And then I could have both. In other words, when I was coming at it from the direction of just pursuing success, I wasn't obtaining the other part of the equation. When I came at it from this direction of trying to self-improve and all the things that are on my list in order to show up the way I need to show up for my family and for my team, then the success came. So I think for me, I think you can have both, but it took a shift in perspective and the way I approached it. I don't know if that lands.
So Josh, Mark, just one quick thought, and then we can jump over to you. So it does land for me, and one of the things that I want to share, because it's really important to me that those that are watching not just get these big pictures, but actually see the incremental steps that are going to lead them, to being able to execute this. So, that's why I introduced the focus on the fear, because that's going to be the first barrier, right, to execution is, oh my gosh, this is hard, overwhelming, right? And then, Ryan introduced some tactics that, be diligent about hiring, understand that roadmap is there, from a production standpoint. But the next hurdle that I faced, and I'm sure that, this is something that all of you, had to struggle with, is that perspective of taking less per loan, right? There's like a compromise event, like a mental bridge that you have to overcome where, let's say, for example, you're in a market where you make 100 basis points a loan and you're going to bring in a junior loan officer to convert your leads. And that junior loan officer is going to help with your refis. You're going to pay him 25 basis points a loan. You get 75 still, but it's not 100. I promise you that when deals start funding, whether you are the most generous and best leader in the world, there will be a moment of crisis where you think that loan was worth 100 basis points. I only got 75. And the math of, well, I just did 10 more deals than I would have otherwise, right? And got 75 basis points on 10 deals that would have never been originated. Somehow that calculus just gets broken down in, our visceral core that's still, very, focused on that sustenance level of the pyramid, right? So just know that there's this time is a time where you can test out your capacity for compromise, right? Another thing that I'll offer, and I don't want to delve down this rabbit hole too deeply, is, being able to lead your team into compromising to a certain degree on some of the results, right? So one of the things that we mentioned that's really, I think, connected up with this idea of accepting different outcomes so that you can maximize the total whole was that I know a lot of LOs right now are struggling with the, survey results that they're getting, right? They are known for being a 5-star lender, and they've started getting 4.5 stars on some of their refis. And I have these conversations every week with, like, what do I do? How do I help my team, get back the 5 stars? And then I ask the question, well, how many loans have you done this month? I'm doing probably about 40, maybe. I'm like, well, what's your normal run rate? About 25. So, okay, you're getting 4.5 stars on 40 loans. You normally get 5 stars on 25 loans. That seems like a pretty good trade for me, right? And so the same thing, that income gap, I think, is really, really important. Just knowing and trusting that the sum of the part, the whole will be greater than the sum of the parts, and that your value as a leader is going to lead you to more income, but that you have to go first, right? You have to give first in order to get.
Love that.
I love that, Danny. Josh, Danny, Brian, what would you say, one of the pieces of feedback I get a lot is, hey, Mark, that's easy for you to say. You have 2 teammates. And, we've all come from, originating that loan, then converting the lead, then collecting all the preconditions, then putting it into processing ourselves, then collecting all the conditions and getting it funded, to now teams. And you guys, Josh and Ryan, have huge teams. So what advice would you give to your younger self, or to people on the call who might be the solo practitioners, if you will, who are doing it? Because what you said, Josh, and Ryan, actually, about there not being an end. So, by no means, even though you guys are some of the most successful guys in the business, it's not any different now than it was when we were doing loans by ourselves. We don't feel like we've made it. We're still striving to be better. So what advice would you give to leverage and to jump into those pain points that Danny was talking about? Or what perspective could you give people who maybe are on their own and just doing a few loans a month and want to get to that next level?
Go for it, Ryan.
Yeah, it's 100% is going to be mentorship and coaching for me, right? I can't obviously speak for everybody, but when I was first starting in their business back in 2011, I just literally worked all day long, right? I was 14 to 16 hours a day. And luckily I was, didn't have any kids, and my girlfriend, now wife at the time, understood. But it wasn't a fun existence, right? It was just grinding. And I, I grinded, or whatever that is, my way to the top, to where I thought I knew it all. I thought, this is great. I'm doing 98, 100 million. I got it down. I know what I'm doing. And then I went to like my first coaching thing, and then I went to my first site visit, and then I sought advice and guidance from people who were really doing it, right? These guys were not only doing hundreds of million themselves, but they also had teams and groups and regions that were doing, hundreds of millions, with them. And I didn't have any clue how they did it. I'm like, you can't fit more time in a day. And knowing that other people went through my struggle, knowing that other people had that blueprint or that path to success, being around people who had already achieved what I wanted to achieve, it just shortened my learning curve, right? Because I could have figured it out by my own, potentially, right? I could have just maybe worked harder or watched more YouTube videos. But being around other people not only gave me the blueprint to do it, but the belief that, look, if this guy could do it, I'm pretty sure I could do it, right? Because we seem similar, like we seem like we have similar traits. And so I really think that going after a mentor, going after somebody who, like, if you can find someone who's already doing what it is you want to do, and go get that knowledge from them and have them show you the blueprint, that's all you need, right? I mean, why reinvent the wheel?
Really well said. Creating a tribe of people that you look up to and respect, and people you can bounce ideas off of, and exactly what you said. For me, one of the most pivotal moments in my life has been at different conferences or different coaching events, and seeing somebody who, in the spite of all of these challenges that I may have perceived as insurmountable, and all the disadvantages that I perceived there be in the market or personally, this person was killing it. And I went, oh my gosh, why not me? You know what I mean? Like, whatever hang up I had, whatever I believed, we're all coached by L360 and Tim Brahim. And one of the things that Tim said that constantly goes through my mind, it's just one of those mental constructs that I go back to, is he says, don't believe everything you think. And that is such a great saying, because every time we can look at ourselves at our own mental boundaries and what we think our limits are, and we can just say, I'm going to choose not to believe that for a minute. Or I can see Ryan certainly doesn't believe that to be true. So if it's not true for Ryan, why is it true for me? And I think that's a really, really strong point, man. The only thing I would add on top of that is, back to this idea that Danny opened with, that you're not supposed to win. I don't think the world owes us anything. And it's supposed to be hard. Right now, I'm rereading for the third time Obstacle is the Way, and by Ryan Holiday. And man, I'll tell you what, that book is so inspiring. And what it reaffirms is that we think of opportunities when we win the lottery, when the lottery ticket comes, that's an opportunity. But also an opportunity is when we get kicked right in the teeth, and we realize that our systems are broken, we have a personality flaw, that there's some challenge there in front of you that you're going to have to create a way around, over, under, or through. The obstacle is the way. And as I think about the challenges, whether it's a first-year loan officer or a 20th-year loan officer, everybody's being challenged right now. And we have the perspective choice, whether we see that as an obstacle and it's unfair and woe is me, or this is a rad opportunity. I got to figure out how to get up that mountain, and I don't have a clue. So that's what I thought about when you asked that question, Mark.
I think that's one of the challenges that a lot of people have, is they don't necessarily ask, right? They know what they want, but they don't ever ask for it, right? They don't ever seek out people who can help them accomplish it. And I don't know why. I think they maybe feel like they just want to do it on their own, or they don't need anybody else's help, or it's a pride or an ego thing. And I was there, right? I mean, I'm still there, right? I still have struggles every day with, we lose refinances. We don't get deals done on time. We have, better than or worse than average customer reviews, and all that stuff just eats at me, right? But it's a time and a place. And when you think about, success, right? Like everyone wants to be successful, but what does that mean, right? Like maybe it'd be good for you guys to try and clarify what success means to you. Like Danny, what is being successful in the mortgage business? Is it doing the most loans?
So for me, it's my journey's a little bit different because I actually moved out of origination a little bit over a year and a half ago. And the reason I moved out is that success in the mortgage industry for me is ensuring that every family gets the best possible advice and strategy that they can. And I realized that that wasn't possible for me to do from a one-to-one or even a team-based one-to-many position. So I moved into a leadership role that allowed me to help, influence more people to provide, better advice. So that's really what it looks like for me. And that story is personal. When I look back at, some advice that my parents got, and I don't want to go deeply into this story, they were given terrible mortgage advice prior to the financial crisis. This might resonate, without telling the whole story. They ended up with a 228 with a 3-year prepay, which we all know now is a terrible idea. Right, almost lost their house. That my father had originally purchased using his VA. And then was refinanced out of that very great loan into a terrible one. And for me, that was a moment of where I said, this can never happen again. Right, it must not happen again, and we have to make efforts to change it. Now, along the way, what that's translated to is implementing processes that translate to a great customer experience. And when that happens, right, we're in a customer-centric industry, right? You have good customer service, you're going to get a lot of customers, right? And so it's translated into a, as it has for all of you, a great lifestyle, great income, and all those other things. But for me, that's what success looks like. If I look back and say more families got quality advice, and that's one of the main reasons why I aligned with Dave and resonate so much with his passion around this. I mean, it literally is core to the mortgage coach community to have that. So that's for me what success looks like.
What about you, Mark?
Man, this is really evolved for me over the years. I think I'm still in a spot where, if I'm being completely honest, I'm trying to let go of attaching my success with the numbers and the volume. And if I really look at the moments that have given me fulfillment in the mortgage industry, it's been impacting people's lives. And so, I'm reinventing myself, if you will. I'm at a phase in my career where I feel like I'm reinventing myself, where the fulfillment now is impacting more lives. How can I touch more people, whether that's my clients, my teammates, the people in this industry? I love collaborating with you guys and masterminding. That stuff is fun. But I'm having a hard time letting go of, hey, I did 100 million and I'm really still competing on that volume basis. So, I think success for me really is, Mark, how can you positively impact the most people in this industry, whether that's end clients, whether that's loan officers, whether that's, the team that works alongside me. I think success for me is being a great dad, a great husband, a great friend, and impacting as many people as I can.
Well said, bro.
What about you, Josh?
Thanks, buddy.
Well, it's definitely evolved, and I'm not going to say that there's not a number or a production goal that's still attached, because I think everything's a game. And if you're not playing a game, what the heck are we doing on planet Earth? So we set those benchmarks out there of how we want to grow and what we want our production and the number of clients we want to serve. And so I think those are important, and I think we should honor those if that's true for you. But what I've become to enjoy more than anything, and that's really evolved over the last couple of years, is watching people around me, teammates around me, just really thrive. I have the last 4 loan officer assistants going back, I think 10, maybe 12 years now, are all loan originators on my team, and they're crushing it. And I'll tell you what, I have so much dang fun watching those guys grow up and watching them mature and watch them turn into full-on superstars. There's just nothing more fun in the world than that. This year because of all of the volume, I've gotten more involved in operations. And I realized this year that, my most important customer, right? I used to go, well, my most important customer is either going to be my client or my realtor. I was wrong. My most important customer is my ops team. And we have to take care of them, and we have to love them, and we have to do things to make their life easier. And the reason why I think that they're our most important customer is because how well can I or any of the loan officers on my team serve our clients or serve our referral partners if our ops team isn't being edified and built up and loved on? So for me, it's watching and I guess helping create this sustainable mortgage practice that I hope will go on for a very, very long time, built around this kind of ethos around continual improvement and growth. We just want to pull all these hungry, humble, and smart people together and then push them up the ladder as fast as we possibly can. And that's success for me, man.
Dude, I've got to tell you, buddy, I've seen, because I've been on this journey with you over the last year and a half, and I'm super impressed with your growth in that area. You can see the results. Obviously, you just talked about it, but also you can see it on you and how passionate you are about it. And it is a reinvention, right? It's not the same Josh Mettle of 2 years ago. So I admire that, bud.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
And guys, maybe if you can talk a little about, what allows you to sustain that high level of drive and motivation to continue to grow and continue to do more. I know it's not just more hours. It's a lot of times quite the opposite. And Josh, I learned a lot of this from you over the last couple of years, and, seeing how you really kind of manage your work-life balance and your vision around, what it means to be, with your family and making time for that. And I've experienced a lot of it recently as well, but what does it take to continue to operate at that high level? Because I'm sure most people don't quite know the answer.
Who wants to go first on that? You want me to swing at that pitch, or you want to?
Yeah,
jump in, Danny?
you start first, Josh, and then I'll jump in. No, you go for it, man. You're the kind of avatar for work-life balance as far as I'm concerned. So you rock and roll, man.
I don't know, man. Ryan, I think, is going to beat me in 2020. He's just spent 3 months on working remotely from Lake Tahoe. That's not bad. That's some good family time.
Yeah.
Dude. For me, it's getting really clear around my routine and my daily rituals that help me show up in the best place each day. And, we've done as a group a lot of meditation work. That's a big part of L360 and what Tim Brahim has taught us. And when I do a lot of those focused meditations, when I think about what the definition of abundance is, when I think about, what is it that I want to be known for, I want to inspire people. I want to challenge people to think bigger, and I want to challenge people to not believe everything they believe. And so to the extent that I can build a routine, a daily ritual that enables me to show up at my peak state and in flow, if you will, that's probably been the most successful single action of my life. I remember reading The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And in The Compound Effect, he says, you create that morning routine like a golfer stepping onto the tee. You create that morning routine, it's rehearsed and practiced like the world's best free throw shooter that does the 3 dribbles and the ball spin before he swishes the free throw. And if you can make your morning routine like that, then the trajectory of your life will change because you'll show up better. And what's the secret to a great morning routine? It's a great evening routine. So that kind of little piece of knowledge, which is super easy in theory, but a little harder in practicality, but the ability to say, okay, I have to give myself permission to turn the phone on do not disturb and wind down. And that equates to family time and chill. And then I have to get myself up in the morning and get myself to that peak state so that I can encourage folks and I can motivate folks. And so that's a long answer.
No, that's great, man. I think a lot of people get caught up in that the routine is a lack of freedom. I actually had somebody say that to me one time. They're like, don't you kind of resent having to be so disciplined sometimes because you don't have the freedom to do what you want? And I just laughed and I was like, man, the discipline of doing what you're supposed to do gives you the freedom to do what you want in the future all the time, right? Not just in the moment. And so that's a really great point. Danny, what do you got?
Yeah. So first, I want to kind of go back to just quickly netting out, like, the title of this call, right? Frantic to focused, right? Some of the things that that's really what we want to try to make sure, we kind of deliver on today. And so the first and most important step of that I believe we've offered up today is just changing perspective and changing expectations. So kind of, and this, the reason I'm teeing this back up is to answer the question, kind of what's that driver, right? So for me, the driver is actually twofold. And I'll be, just really vulnerable and admit that the primary driver, even today, a lot of times is just fear and doubt. And that kind of gets me up, like just knowing that there's always somebody out there that's smarter than me, that's working harder than me. And if I want to be a champion, right, I have to work as hard and be as dedicated to my craft as that person is, right? That person in my mind that, I'm competing against, right? It's not an individual person. It's this image of what, is possible and what I'm personally capable of is driving me, right? So that just that fear. And I'll also admit that, when I was, actively in my business, interfacing with clients and realtors, I would wake up at least a couple times a week thinking, oh my gosh, this is all going to come crashing down around me if I don't do X, right? And so that popped me out of bed, and I sure did X, right? Because I had that, really, ultimately it was a false belief that, everything was on the verge of collapse at all times, and I needed to just keep driving and driving to make sure that it didn't fall apart. What I kind of changed that framing to, and again, the answer that I had, same exact answer as you, Ryan, which is mentorship, right? Perspective, right? Having somebody outside of myself that can look in and say, hey, I just watched what you did, and here's what you did wrong. I mean, even the athletes at the top of their game are, they have not only their own coach of their team, but oftentimes they have multiple experts that they hire as coaches to kind of continue to help them refine their craft. And so for me, it was gaining the perspective that I actually had the choice to control my own time. And this is something when I think about going from frantic to focused, this is probably the biggest gift and takeaway that I could offer to this group, is that if you're constantly reacting, right? If the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is open up your emails and you see all the people and you look at your, 17 missed calls and your voicemail box is full, you've basically relinquished all of your agency to the whirlwind, right? You're in the ticket tornado and you have no control. It's already spinning around you, right? Whereas if you take time, as Josh suggested, to recognize that you are the master of your day, right? That you are the one who gets to choose, instead of inviting all of these people to bombard your awareness and bombard your emotional energy with their own agenda, right? That's, I guarantee you, will help you become less frantic. And whether or not you take that state and become focused, I think really comes down to some of these other strategies that we've said. But the first step is stop being frantic, stop offering all of your time up without condition to all of these forces that are bombarding you all the time, be it, your email or, whatever other things in your life. Josh mentioned a bunch of other, traps, right? Mouse traps that are out there. I would add, the distraction that comes with, your phone constantly pinging you with social media, with news articles, right? There's so many things that are diminishing our ability to be calm and make calm decisions, right? Studies have shown that the more decisions you make throughout the day actually diminishes your capacity to make decisions later on in the day. So if the first thing you do is decide to read 1,700 emails or not read them, versus deciding to focus on your big rocks and the things that you really need to accomplish to make sure that you're creating that leverage for yourself, that's what's going to allow you to go from frantic to focused.
Brilliant.
And Mark, I think, or you said it well the other day with that book you're reading, doing the things that improve your life, not just when times are hard, but when times are good. I think that we are all susceptible to the trap of, hey, things are going great, we're making good money, let's eat terribly, let's go to bed late, let's wake up late, let's, kind of coast a little bit. We can drink a little bit more, we can enjoy life because we're making money. And, Mark, if you want to talk about kind of what your experience was when you read that.
Yeah, it's just been kind of a culmination of everything we said on this call. For me, it's pleasing people. I don't want to let anybody down. And so fear and anxiety ruled my life. I just would say yes to everything. And I would be so worried that I was going to drop the ball somewhere until there were so many balls I couldn't possibly carry the load myself. And, getting into coaching, I had gone to so many coaching and seminars through the years, but I will say that when you finally make the choice yourself to be disciplined, because I'm not a disciplined guy, but look, I got around Danny Harani and Ryan Grant and Josh Mettle. To Josh's point, you surround yourself with people who are doing it, and then you see them and you're like, I can do this. It's inspiring, right? And so I didn't like the way I was showing up. I wanted to be disciplined. So I started a great morning routine. It started with cold showers. We did a cold shower challenge at the office. And to this day, every day for probably 2 years now, I've been taking a cold shower every morning. I've done this push-up challenge. I meditate for an hour every morning. I would say at least 2 or 3 times a week. And so I would not have done that if I wasn't in Tim's coaching program. I hadn't met these guys who I really admired, and I wanted to be like them. It took a rewiring of my mind. But why didn't I rewire my mind when I went to Duncan's thing and the core summits and, Dave Savage's, coaching online? I had to make the choice to not believe all the thoughts that were going on, like Josh said. And once I saw people who were doing it, then I was like, I can do this, right? But it took me being able to see other people to do this. And one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in my life is that once everything gets going and I've reached this new thing, it's like, okay, and I can kind of let off the gas. And I've read a book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It recently. And the biggest takeaway for me was it's important to do that meditation, the cold showers, the push-ups, the eating right, when things are going good, because that's the easiest time to let off the gas. You're proud of yourself. You have capacity issues. You got more business than you've ever had. But I would submit to everybody that now is the time to stay on top of your game while everyone is drunk on refis and, just being obliterated. You have to be sharper than ever, and you have to make the choice. So surround yourself with a great community of people that are going to lift you up and extend a hand down to help somebody else. I think it's really fulfilling, for both ways, but it's really important to stay on top of your game when things are going good.
Can I just make a really quick comment, because this has come up a couple times on this call about, listening to your inner voice. And this is something that was a kind of a game changer for me. And I want to offer it up to the, the audience today. Is somebody gave me this tip: never take criticism from anyone you wouldn't take advice from. Right. So if they're credible enough, right, if they have credibility with you where you would take their advice and they offer you criticism, reframe that criticism as advice. But if you would not take advice from them, do not give them permission to criticize you. Right. And I know this is very, very hard. It was hard. It is to this day hard for me. Not was. It's happening in real time. It is hard for me to do that because I have ego and I want to believe that, anything that's negative about me is not true, et cetera, right? But this applies to your own inner voice as well. There are so many things that you are not credible to make commentary on. And if you're accepting every thought that you have as being credible criticism or advice, then you are very confused, because I promise you, you don't have the credibility to guide yourself through most of the things that you're criticizing yourself for. So that's that. And once I realized that, or got that awareness or perspective, and I then am able to pause between my thought and my reaction to that thought to say, you know, is this something that I really believe and that I'm credible enough to make comment around? Or is this just an emotional reaction that has some underlying, you know, facts or underlying emotions that I need to address? And this is just surface, you know, symptoms of an actual bigger problem. And that process has really, really helped me go from frantic to focused.
Love that tie down. Great.
Hey, the other thing, Danny, just what I thought of is the advice that Tim's given us all. Sometimes we're our worst critic, and to your point, we're not credible. And one of the litmus tests that Tim taught us in our coaching group is, hey, if your kid came to you with that same issue, you know, what advice would you give them? And that's a great litmus test. If you're beating yourself up or you feel bad about something, you know, I just told you all, I feel bad if I let people down, right? So I picture my kid coming to me with that same problem and saying, Dad, you know, here's what's going on. What advice would I give my kid? And most of the time it's like, hey, are you kidding me? Why would you beat yourself up about that? But that's not what I tell myself. I'm much harder on myself than I would be on my kids. So it's a great litmus test. So if any of you are struggling with that, that's one of the pieces I've really enjoyed using in my life every day. So in case it's helpful, I just thought I'd put it out there.
Yeah, it's incredibly helpful. I think, you know, focusing on the wins when there's a massive amount of them is incredibly important, right? I mean, we could beat ourselves up all day long about the losses, right? About the deals we missed, the things we messed up on, the people we didn't hire, you know, 5 months ago, right? And then the situation that we're in. But what about all the great people that you did hire? How about, you know, how much closer your team is because you're all in this battle together? The people you are helping, right? The gratitude and perspective you should have around being able to earn a great living while, you know, sitting at home in front of a computer as opposed to being out on the front lines. You know, if you focus on those things, that's going to help you stay in the game, right? It'll take the franticness, if that's a word, it'll take that out of the equation, right? Because you'll always be able to center into the idea of, I'm doing the absolute best I can, right? Like there, and I can improve. I still have room to improve. I'm going to seek wise counsel, right? I'm not just going to sit back and accept that to the way it is today is the way it's always going to be. Right? I'm helping a lot of people. Just focus on all the wins, and you have to have kind of a short memory when it comes to the losses because you didn't do it on purpose, right? Like you're not out there to close a loan late. You're not out there to, you know, mess up a transaction because you move too fast. You're not out there to, you know, not call your past clients because you just quite simply are too buried or don't have time to. Right? We're all doing the absolute best we can, and if you stay centered and focused on that, that's going to help you to really do the things that will help you 10, 12, 18, 24 months from now, which is really, you know, where we always want to stay focused on is, you know, a few years ahead.
There's this thought going through my mind, Ryan, and there's a little bit of duality to what we're saying here. On one hand, we said, in a way, you know, we paraphrased Jocko, discipline equals freedom. And then on the other hand, we're saying, you know, it's okay to renegotiate with yourself right now. 40 4.5-star reviews is better than 25 5-star reviews. And so I think it depends where you are as you're receiving this information. And it's a good time to just take a time out and go, am I slacking? Like, am I just spending too much time on the boat and eating food that I shouldn't be eating with the excuse that I'm making a lot of money? And so that can kind of overcast all my failures. And do I need to tighten up the ship? Or like Ryan said, am I doing the best I can? You know, I've got 24 hours in this day. I have family I have to honor. I have a team I have to honor. And my biggest mistake is that I'm trying to serve too many people, right? I shouldn't hang myself for that.
Right.
So to your point, man, I think this is a great time to take that time out and assess where you are. And if you're in the camp of the latter, give yourself some grace. Danny, you talked a little bit about renegotiating agreements with yourself. I don't know if this is a good parlay into that thought process.
Yeah, and actually, since we're coming close on time here, I'll just do a really quick net out of this, which is don't win the battle and lose the war. Don't win the battle with your customer. Don't win the battle with your team. Don't win the battle with your ops partners just to lose the war. There's nothing worse than you can do for yourself right now. Focus on the long game. right? Focus on the fact that, you know, because you serve that client well, that's why they came to you again. And if you genuinely cannot serve them in the same way, or by adding that customer, it's going to tip your team over, tip your ops team over, be open with them and say, look, I cannot do you the service that you've come to know me for if I take on your business right now, right? Be able to say that, because here's what I know. If you have a capacity, you either individually or with your team, to do 20 loans and you do 21, it's not just the one loan that gets messed up. It's all 21, right? Because the entire machine becomes less effective and less efficient. And that then compounds and compounds and compounds over time, so that your downstream 2022, 2023 income, when things are very likely going to be a lot harder, that's when you want all of the down payments and all the seeds that you've planted in 2020, when times are really good, to start bearing fruit. You don't want to salt the earth, right? Because you've just reaped this very, very rich crop, and then find out that later downstream you're struggling. And in that moment, you might not even know why, right? Because it's very hard to bring the perspective of the past into the present, but it will be because, you know, if you're winning, it's because you made the decision to win today. And if you're losing, it's because you made the decision to lose today, whether consciously or unconsciously.
I love that.
Ryan, you want to wrap us up? We've got about 2 minutes. Any maybe a quick wrap up and then any closing thoughts?
Yeah, no, first of all, I appreciate Dave for having us on the call, the whole Mortgage Coach community for tuning in and watching this. We are actually going to be hosting, the four of us are going to be hosting a kind of a mastermind session next Tuesday. I'll post some information about it here in the chat. I think there's a link along with the date and time. So next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the four of us are going to jump back on again with a group called Tribe, and we are going to talk about capacity challenges and how to deal with your refinance capacity at the moment. So I think that, you know, we touched on a lot of things high level on really what to stay focused on, but I think this is going to give some real tactical advice and guidance as to, you know, how to scale your team, the steps to take, you know, who do you hire, what to do, because we know that that's a real challenge right now. How do you find these people? We're going to be talking about, you know, how to deal with your database of refinances versus the onslaught of purchase business we're having. So I'm really excited to do that with you guys next week. And hopefully anybody watching will join us, and you can click that link or go to tribeevents.com to learn more about it.
Hey, Ryan, would you also just put that in the Mortgage Coast Mastermind Facebook page? Just put a link there as well.
Yep.
Great. Okay, guys, I know we're running long, but I think we should, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't go around the horn one more time with closing thoughts. Danny, anything to leave us with today?
Yeah, I think that last thought there was my closing contribution. So I'll let you guys take it from there.
Sir Robertson?
Yeah, I think just surround yourself with people that you admire and that inspire you and are better than you at different things, that are different people that really excel in other places. Collaboration is key. Be more vulnerable, give more stuff away. Abundance will come to you.
Well said. RG?
Yeah, I think, you know, just realizing what success is, right? Success is not about the most loans. It's not about the most money. It's not about a short game. You know, it's not about what you funded in July or August. I think everyone's elbows are sore from patting themselves on the back right now. I think it's really around, you know, who are you supporting? What leaders are you growing? You know, how are you managing this time with your family, your friends, building better relationships, you know, getting closer with people during this time when we're all in this in this fight together, and just a ton to be grateful for. So if you take anything away from it, be grateful for what we have, keep perspective around what we do. Don't beat yourself up on the losses, focus on the wins, and hopefully you guys will join us next Tuesday.
Yeah, well said, man. Yeah, you know, what's on my heart is something that came up in our prep call around how comparison is such a thief to joy and a thief to gratitude. And so if there's a shift that I could hope that we all can make, it's that we compare less, we give ourselves a little more grace, and we focus on Kaizen, constant improvement. So I hope y'all will join us next week. It's been a blast hanging out with you guys. And thanks for the mortgage coach community and Dave for having us on. See you later, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.